So the Eagles are prepping to take on the Commanders at the Link, a Thursday night showdown of two of the NFL's best and two division rivals. The Eagles just got a huge boost that could potentially put them over the top in this matchup. Meanwhile, the Commanders just got a bit of rough news in regards to one of their newly acquired players. So we'll talk about all that and preview this matchup and give you a couple keys for the Eagles to try to pull out number 6 in a row. But welcome on into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a favor, like this video, go down below, hit that subscribe button, help us get to 7K subscribers. I do have to say, it is brutal that this matchup is on Thursday night. I know the NFL did not anticipate these teams being this way, but this is going to be one of the best games of the season. We've been coming into these previews saying, yeah, well, hopefully it's not a trap game. Hopefully the Eagles can just take care of business. No, this is what you play for. The stakes are high, both in the division, both in the conference, and the Eagles need to make a statement like they have been, and they need to prove a lot. But let's go ahead and start off with our guy, Zack Bauns. The praise has been high here on this channel, and it is only getting higher. How about Zack Bauns being named NFC Defensive Player of the Week? We're just going to keep saying it every game at this point. Howie, sign Zack Bauns. Hashtag sign Zack Bauns. They got to get it done. This guy's playing himself into a Pro Bowl, into all-pro status, into a big-time contract. Hopefully it is here in Philadelphia. Bauns is the first Eagles inside linebacker to win a Player of the Week award since Jeremiah Trotter in 2005. And now his son is on the team. So shout out to Trot and big-time Zack Bauns. By the way, he's going to have a chance to assert his dominance even more in this matchup. Speaking of this matchup, let's talk about it. Ari Mirov putting here on Twitter, the Commanders have officially ruled out Marshon Lattimore for Thursday night's matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. He is nursing a hamstring injury from his days in New Orleans. They talked about him playing, maybe, maybe not. Like I said, though, it is tough for both sides here that this game is on short rest. These guys don't really have a normal week to practice. Even me, you know, I'm used to going through my preparation, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe this game is already being played tomorrow night. So, you know, Marshon Lattimore out, and that is huge for a Commander secondary that could probably use a boost against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And on the other end, we have Jordan Mailata, who is apparently expected to return and start at left tackle against the Commanders. This comes from James Simone here on Twitter. Jordan Mailata missed 4 weeks with a hamstring injury and looks to boost Philly's O-line against Washington's emerging defense. So Jordan Mailata being back changes this entire matchup. The Eagles have had pretty solid offensive line play, but even in situations like, for example, the brotherly shove, having Jordan Mailata out there on the left side over Fred Johnson, and no disrespect to Fred, he did his job. He came in. Eagles didn't lose with Fred Johnson, so kudos to him. He is 10 times better than Fred Johnson, and Jalen Hurts is going to need that protection to go through his reads. Here is what Jordan Mailata said about Fred Johnson. Quote, he did an amazing job. I was texting him money bags. After the game. I was like, you're loading the bank right now. I'm excited for Fred. That's just, again, a great example of being a leader. And I am so happy that, you know, the chemistry is showing itself with this team, that these guys really seem to be integrated. For the Eagles, they had 4 guys who were limited participants in Kobe Dean, Dallas Goedert, Darius Slade, Devontae Smith. All that we have heard indicates they are going to be good and play. They were listed on the injury report last week and all played. Meanwhile, for the Commanders, we know Marshon Lattimore is now out. Austin Seibert did not practice with a right hip injury. That's their kicker, who's been pretty money this year. And a lot of other guys listed as limited participants. Brian Robinson, the main back for the Commanders, has not played, I believe, the last 2 games. So going to be interesting to see what he's like. And before we get into the official stuff, I just want to highlight again what Vic Fangio has done to overhaul this Eagles defense. I mean, think about the chaos last year. And, you know, this season right now, number 1 in total defense since the bye week, number 1 in least points allowed, number 1 in passing defense, number 2 in rushing, and number 2 in sacks. Most turnovers forced over the last 3 games. Shout out to Vic Fangio. And shout out to the young guys, man, who have to again step up this week. So let's talk about this matchup, man. It's very interesting because these teams are similar. They are very similar. Washington versus teams with winning records, and the Eagles versus teams with winning records. 1-2 for Washington. Eagles 1-1. Washington 6-1 against teams with losing records. Philly is 5-1 against teams with losing records. Washington coming off a tough loss to the Steelers, who have proven to be a pretty good team. and the Eagles coming off a rout in Dallas. So both teams have pretty much been playing with a lot of confidence, but I think the Eagles do hold the edge in this game, maybe slightly, but let's go and look at the Commanders, right? I mean, Jayden Daniels, for a rookie, deserves all the praise and more. This guy has been absolutely money this season, and I've watched a handful of the Commanders games, and I would say the main thing is you got to really find a way to get to him, right? And it's hard to do so. He is the most calm, cool, collected, poised rookie quarterback that I maybe have ever seen in my life. I mean, this guy goes through the reads and he just goes out there and handles himself like a pro, like he's been there for 7 years. He's only fumbled twice. He makes good decisions. He can pull the ball back and take it himself whenever he feels like it. Jayden Daniels reminds me almost a lot of Jalen Hurts with his demeanor and the way he goes out there and approaches the game. So it's going to be hard to get to Jayden Daniels. Vic Fangio has been bringing a lot of pressure, so he needs to kind of find that balance. What's going to be really important is the Eagles have to keep an eye on him, because if you let Daniels start making plays with his legs, this game could potentially get out of hand. And I'm trying to think back to which mobile quarterbacks the Eagles have played this year. Really hasn't been that many. And if we look at the NFL total stats for the season, Commanders right now are 4th in total offense. The Eagles are 6th. However, if we go ahead and look on the opposite side of the football, Eagles are 2nd in total defense, only giving up 274 yards per game. And then if we look at the Commanders, they are all the way down here at number 14. So if we are looking at the one weakness here, it is more of the Commanders defense. Not that they're bad, but they're more of mediocre. And the Eagles' high-powered offense needs to find a way to just continue to rip apart defenses like they have. And they should be able to do that against the Washington Commanders. So, my first key of this game, like I said, is to contain Jayden Daniels. Try to do something to make him look like a rookie. He has been playing a little bit down the past couple of weeks compared to what he was doing. I think he had set an NFL record of like 91 completion percentage in the first 4 weeks. If Brian Robinson Jr. plays, he's a guy who can run the ball effectively. I mean, he's got a couple 100-yard games this season. He's not great, but he's not bad either. So he's solid. And one thing that I noticed here, which I was surprised at looking up these numbers, the Commanders have 4 guys with 4 or more rushing touchdowns. They have Austin Eckler as a nice complimentary back. But if we flip it over to the Eagles, my main key, second key here, but really my primary key to winning this football game is, again, the Eagles need to establish the run. That is their identity. That's who they are first and foremost at their core. You can disagree with me, you can argue with me, but the Philadelphia Eagles have to get Saquon going early. He's just under that 1,000-yard mark. He has 5 100-yard rushing games this season. He has been on an all-time start as a Philadelphia Eagle. Saquon's got to come in here and be able to run this football against a Washington rushing defense, which, let's be honest, is not that good. Washington Commanders all the way down here, number 28 in the NFL against the run, giving up 142 yards per game. They cannot stop the bleeding. And if Saquon gets going early, not saying you got to run it every down to begin, but let's not have one of these first quarters where we come out and we run the ball one time. This could be one of those 30-touch games for Saquon Barkley. I really think getting Saquon going, keeping that Washington offense off the field is going to be the main key in this game. Can the Eagles dominate like they have been doing? Jalen Hurts has looked really good doing that the last couple of games, and we might see 1 or 2 Jalen Hurts touchdowns on the ground in this game. So I think the Eagles just have to utilize that rushing attack. And my last key that I would say in this game is being able to make the big-time play when it arrives. Because there's going to be moments in this game, and I have the confidence in AJ and Devontae, even Dallas Goedert. I mean, you got all these guys contributing. Even Dotson has made a couple nice catches the last couple of weeks. Maybe a Dotson revenge game. But as it relates to the Washington Commanders, no Marshon Lattimore, their secondary is not that good. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Dante Fowler Jr. has had kind of a breakout season. I know he had one really good year, but overall having probably one of his best seasons. Other than that, you have the vet Bobby Wagner, who's like 34 years old. Commanders don't have that many good pieces. Their secondary is not that good. Eagles should be able to take advantage of that. When you think about it, one thing we've mentioned a lot, but not really honed in on, is the Eagles' ability to make big plays this season and prevent the big play. Like, when's the last time the Eagles secondary gave up a big play to an opponent? I really can't think of one this season. I know that's Vic Fangio's scheme, bend but don't break. Not only are they not breaking, but they're not really giving up anything. Like we just talked about, the Eagles defense has been rock solid this season, and this will be the biggest matchup for Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I mean, we know what they're doing. We know what the front four is doing. They're going to have to try to get some pressure on Jaden Daniels, but on the back end, right, whether Slay is in or out, whether he's banged up the first play, second play, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean just have to keep up what they are doing and the flow, the rhythm that they've been in. They've been absolutely unstoppable. They said something today, like Quinyon hasn't given up more than 23 yards in coverage all season. They don't look like rookies. They look like 10-year vets. It's primarily Terry McLaurin in the air, right? They have Zach Ertz, former Eagle, probably some emotions there. But outside of that, I mean, Scary Terry is the guy. He's one of the best receivers in the league. If Quinyon Mitchell does it again against Terry McLaurin, give him the Rookie of the Year award. He did it last week against CD. If he does it again, and Cooper DeJean as well, right? You know, they typically line up McLaurin, I believe, on the same side the entire game. So it's probably going to be a matchup with Quinyon. But if he does it again, give him the Rookie of the Year award right now. Last thing I'll say is I think the Eagles need to be able to maybe force a turnover or two, right? Jaden Daniels has not done it. He has primarily played clean games, but you look at the Eagles and they have the most takeaways over the last couple of weeks. Meanwhile, Washington only has 4 interceptions on the season. They have, I think, 6 forced fumbles. So they've actually forced more fumbles than interceptions, but they're really not that kind of defense. And it's interesting given Dan Quinn is their head coach, but they are an offensive juggernaut. But I think the Eagles have the momentum, and I do believe that they will make it 6 in a row. It's going to be a dogfight like it usually is against Washington. So for my prediction, I am going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to win another game, make it 6 in a row at the Link. I think they're going to win this game 34-26. Another one in the 30s. Jalen Hurts and the offense have a clean game. Give me your thoughts and final predictions down below in the comment section. As always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I'll catch you on the next one.
Into BetMGM Casino, and you're entering a huge library full of exclusive games. Games you won't find anywhere else. Looking for jackpots? Right this way. You'll always find someone ready to give you a hand. Or some dice. Your favorite game is waiting for you. On BetMGM Casino.